The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Kagos Radio Network and its website are those of the host, guest, and participants. UFO Talk Radio can, but does not necessarily promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and they are not intended to treat or diagnose and/or claim to cure any disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. All music is purchased and owned by LGA Broadcasting.
I got the windows rolled down, got the radio up, and I'm heading out of Vegas tonight. And it's a 1:30 on a 4-day run, and the desert is a welcome sight. I can see you there in that dress you wear, and it's keeping my foot on the gas. I'll drink a gallon of Joe just to make it back home and hold you in my arms at last.
Are you ready? What you are about to experience is real. Right along with us. From deep in the desert of Nevada, The Glenn Larry Show.
And I am here, everybody. I do bid you all welcome to the show tonight. As you know, last week we had a very interesting gentleman, Mr. Matthew. Unbelievable guest. And by Papa DeBland, we were bringing him back, by the way. This is kind of like part 2 of what he talked about. When we're talking about abductions, we're talking about the visitors, the other ones, the ones that pull you during the night. They fly around in UFOs and ships, but it's the real deal, the real thing. He's got a book out. He's got a lot more things to say about his experiences. Now, I've been doing a lot of research this whole week with other folks that have gone through this also. They may be calling in also to ask questions. So please do so. Again, I had a great week. Hope you had a great week, everyone. Did a lot of things around the house. Today, we really had a tough day, I'll tell you. My friend, Chris, and I took the old couch out and brought in another couch, which is the bigger couch. When these beds that fold out, and they're very, very heavy. My doorways are not as big as they're supposed to be. This is a small kind of type of cabin house I live in. I'm telling you, we're juggling this way, that way to get it in. And then went to the other door that wouldn't work either. Then we came back to the back door, and after dealing with this, getting the old one out, that was interesting. But we finally got it into the house. In the house, it was like a celebration. I'm telling you. And bless his soul, this guy's a great guy, and we did it. And yeah, we're both pretty tired. I am very tired. I bet he's sore too. Our backs are sore. Yeah, but if you go through that, it's really something else. And I couldn't remember how I got the other couch into that. I don't know. Maybe I went through the other door. I don't remember. It's been so long. But yeah, what an experience. A lot going on. Don't forget, I have to check out the Pioneer Saloon. They're having a lot of fun stuff going on down there, and you'll see me down there. And I talk with a lot of folks. Visited with some cool folks last week too, and that's always fun. Creekside Diner. Oh, you get a chance to stop by and say hello to her. She's a great lady, Karen, and she's at Kennett Square in PA. It's off. I think it's Biltmore Pike. It is. That's where it should be. I'm sure it's there because I was there. It's 717 West. Yeah. And the breakfasts are fantastic. I always come in and talk to her, and she really supports EMS and law enforcement and fire. And she's a great lady. Do stop in and say hi. Tell her I said hi, so she knows that you got it from me, of course. On a sad note, Las Vegas police officer, North Las Vegas police officer, Jason Roscoe, is 46 years old, was gunned down in the line of duty last night. A 17-year-old vet of the department. I'm very sad. Our prayers go out to the family. Condolences to the family and prayers. Yeah, very sad. Very, very sad. Crime is out there. It's bigger than ever. These officers that protect us, and I'm in the devotion of being a peace officer in EMS and all that. is a devotion, and it's a lifestyle. And there's bad guys and there's good guys. But our prayers go out to the family from Caicos Radio, myself, and I was speaking to Chief Hall today, and he told me to look this up. When I did, I get so wrapped up in radio and doing other things, like sometimes I miss certain things. But we got this out, and please say the prayers for the family. Gosh, yes, a lot of folks are tuning in here. I see Canada hitting us, Washington, Provo, Utah, Reno. Good to see you. More things be happening. I'm gonna bring my guest on, and I'd like to have him talk about a little bit about what he does and how this all started briefly. And we're going to go into some stories and your chance to call in all night long, by the way. And Matthew, are you on the line there, sir?
I am on the line.
Okay, there
Thanks
you go.
for having me.
We got you live there. How do you say your last name again? Gosh, why am I such
deLellis.
deLellis?
deLellis.
deLellis.
Yeah.
Now, is that French? What is that?
It's Italian.
It's Italian. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be. Huh, interesting. Well, here we are. You have a book coming out. We had a great show last time, and the night show is going to be fantastic. I'm quite sure. Um, your first time abducted was when you were a child, of course, and
Yes.
the last time that you had the experience. When was that? When's the last time?
The last time they abducted me was in about 94, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, that's when I really established myself as a sovereign being. See, there's a rule I found out in the galactic community. Once a being says out loud and makes it known, "Hey, I am a sovereign being,"
Mm-hmm.
and you may not do anything that I don't approve of or allow.
Interesting.
That establishes you on an equal basis then with them.
Oh.
And they don't do stuff like that. Now, I have had other experiences since then where I'm sort of taken either by consciousness or out of my body
Right.
to meet. The most startling one was when I met my hybrid.
Huh.
That was a life-changing experience for me.
You met your hybrid. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I met my hybrid. Her name is Parax.
Parax.
Pareax.
Okay.
And I think they brought me to her for a reason, so that she could develop. They told me, they said she's not right. And she needed contact with the human side of her lineage, And once we met and I held her in my arms, that bond or that communication that happened was like, it's not like anything I've ever experienced before with another person.
Mm.
It was an absolute DNA to DNA, connection. There was no question that she came from me. And I know they've taken many different DNA samples from me, so that was a pretty earth-shattering experience for me. And that happened about 2017 in Nambe, New Mexico.
How do they? I mean, let's talk about space and time and all this. I mean, it's pretty rough to get here to there,
Yeah.
And I mean, how do they do it? How do they take you like that? How does that happen?
Well, the way I've experienced it is they have a way of suspending time. Actually, we talked about this a little bit last week.
Yes, we did.
Time is the most unusual aspect of dealing with them because there's our relationship to time and their relationship to time is completely different. So because I think they operate in a more dimensional process or dimensional level. We're very linear in terms of how we define the distance between things, right? Space
Right.
in miles or kilometers or whatever, or light years. That doesn't mean anything to them because they have ways, I think, of moving dimensionally, you know, going up to a higher dimension and then dropping down into this dimension. And that's a whole different uh, process on a quantum level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, they have ships, absolutely. They have physical ships. But I also think that they use a kind of, their ships are kind of sentient in a way, where there's a blending between the biological and the mechanical, and they're able to move about the cosmos in ways that we can't even conceive of yet.
Are they just sitting out there and we can't see them also? I mean,
I think there
or
are some.
stealthed?
Yeah, I think that there are some that are kind of set up to observe.
Mm-hmm. We're
And
being watched. We've been watched for years.
oh, absolutely. And they also have bases too.
Yeah.
They're for years there was a rumor about the Greys occupying a base on the dark side of the moon.
Right.
And now supposedly that base is ours. Solar Warden has that base. It's called Luna One.
Luna One. I heard that.
But they also have bases on different moons
Mm-hmm.
of planets in our solar system. So they've been here a long time, a long, long time.
Many folks. I mean, I'm getting a lot of stuff about the fake walk, and the fake camera angles and all this, and lots of this has come out lately. But we have been to the moon, and
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think some people, it's conspiracy stuff, you know how that goes. But yeah, quite interesting. And they saw what they saw, another flying saucer, and they saw it, and it's been said.
Yep, that's right.
And
We've been to the moon. We've been to Mars.
mm-hmm.
We have. There's breakaway civilization out there.
Right.
The truth is, if the powers that be ever actually get to full disclosure, they're going to be in a lot more trouble for knowing about all this and not telling us
Right.
than the actual information about what it is. That's what people are going to be upset about.
Yeah. And
yeah, they're out there, and there's also underground bases here.
yes.
I mean, Dulce, New Mexico, for crying out loud. I have a friend who was a sheriff on the Hickory Apache reservation out there for 20 years.
Right.
And the first time I met him, he told me, he says, "Yeah, well, what we really have to be worried about is the aliens underground." And I was like, and this is kind of like an old Hispanic New Mexico guy, grizzled
Right.
sheriff guy, and I'm like, "Excuse me?" He says, "Yeah, the aliens are underground in the Dulce out there in the reservation."
Right. Yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah, so I mean, they're here. They're here.
Which colony of aliens or type are underground?
Well,
what do you think?
I think my experience is that there are various factions of Greys,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them don't even communicate with each other.
Interesting.
They all have different agendas.
Mm-hmm.
They look similar, but they're not actually the same.
Right.
So just like humans don't all look the same, and we have different races, so do the Greys.
Right. God. Frightening. The ones that look like huge humanities, the type of we got the lizard ones also. That would freak me out also. The little grays I can kind of Yeah, I've seen you before, so I'm used
Yeah,
to
yeah.
seeing them coming in, whatever. But these other guys, man, that's going to be pretty freaky when that happens, you know.
Well, yeah, it's hard to judge. I've come to find out it's hard to judge a species by what they look like
Right.
because, I mean, it's about their emanation. It's about their consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And here, let me read this. This started this whole thing when I started writing this down.
Okay.
This is my poem I wrote in 1996.
Alrighty.
It's called "The Others."
The others. Yes, the others.
The others. They come at night. They take me to their places. These are not dreams. They happen in the dream time. They fill me with memories I cannot remember and leave scars from wounds that never were. They hurt me. They heal me. They take all I am and give me all I hope to be. In the day and night, they are always here within my mind, yet I cannot see them. They are sweet and terrible, loving and cold. They do not care, yet they are concerned. From moment to moment, unborn, older than time, they know everything and do not understand. They are demons, frightening, phantoms in the darkness, always lurking on the boundaries of reality, the edges of awareness. They are angels, magical, winging me towards the light, to places incomprehensible within the vastness of consciousness, to freedom from the box of earth and sky. They are from a distant past, arcane and mythical. They are from the future, vast and knowing. They come at night. They take me to their places. I love them. I hate them. I miss them when they are gone. I fear their coming.
Wow.
That about sums it up.
Boy, it does. It does.
I sent that to Whitley Strieber, and he sent a message back to me saying, this is spot on.
Wow. Yeah.
So, coming from him, that was a huge acknowledgement.
Yeah. Very much so. Dr. Greer, what do you think about his discovery and what he's doing?
Dr. Greer, I think, is a courageous person who has persevered in the face of incredible pressure.
Yeah.
And, I've said this before, and I say this in my book at the end. If Congress was really interested in letting the public know, they would bring a guy like him into Congress for a hearing. He's got 1,000 people who are willing to testify under oath about what they know. They're military, they're law enforcement, they're defense contractors, they're people from all over the spectrum who have intimate knowledge, first-hand knowledge of the ET presence, the ET technology, and all of that. And all they want is their national security oath waived so that they can testify without violating their NDA that they signed.
Right.
And Congress could do that. And, I know that Dr. Greer has, he's briefed presidents, he's briefed members of Congress, he's briefed Joint Chiefs of Staff. They know, and he knows.
We're gonna take a call. And
Great.
Caller, what's your name and where are you from, please?
It's Ken from Florida.
Ken from Florida. You have any questions for Matthew? Go ahead. You're live.
Yeah, I'd like to ask him how close he's ever been to one.
How close?
How close?
They touched me.
I listened to you, but I don't know, the validity, because I know what it's like to be close to them.
Yeah, it's very weird to be close to them.
It's weirder when they put something on you can't get off you.
That's true too. They can immobilize you, and that's a very disturbing feeling.
Well, Larry will show you what they put on me.
Oh
And,
yeah, it's
it was there for 50-some years before I had it removed.
on the back,
Oh my God.
and it. See if I still have it up here. Yeah, it's unbelievable, and so many people
And,
have these
and
probes.
once it happens to you, you will think about it every day of your life.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I kept
It
telling my
changes you
wife,
forever.
I,
Yeah. It
I
changes
told
you
my
forever.
wife for over 50 years there's something on me.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But we found
Well,
it after 52 years.
the problem with
Short
knowing
one, Larry.
something is you can't unknow it.
I can't find. I'm just
Well,
you know.
up here.
I knew there was
Yeah.
something there, but nobody could pick it out because it doesn't show up under X-rays. It's
Mhm.
not magnetic, but
Mhm.
it is some type of probe, and I'm not the only one that's got the same type of probe. I've seen other ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's very prevalent. Do you know who Dr. Lear is?
No.
Dr. Lear was a guy who people started coming to him and they said they had implants.
Yeah.
And, like a good physician,
He lived in
surgeon,
Santa
he
Barbara.
said, well, let's just take a look.
Yeah.
And he found them, and he started trying to remove them. He did remove some implants from a variety of people, but a lot of them he said he couldn't remove. They were, every time he tried, they would move
Yeah.
or be intransient. So, and there's energetic things that these beings can do. They can install frequency. They're frequency implants that don't show up on any. They're not measurable by any instruments we have.
Right.
But nevertheless, they're there, and they're doing that for whatever their purposes are. I've never been able to discern what the purpose, other than the implant I have in my head, which is I've been told is by them is a bio-audio monitoring device.
Interesting. Now, Ken, do you feel any different since that's been pulled out of your body? Ken?
Well, they didn't control my body. I just knew there was something back there. And
Yeah.
different things I'd think about or different things I'd do, this thing would act up in my back, but it wasn't magnetic. It wasn't caught on X-rays. But one day I told my wife, I said, cut right there, cut it. So she did. She stopped. She said, it's bleeding too bad. So she put a Band-Aid on it. And the next day I said, man, it's bothering me again. See what the hell it is.
Right. Oh, gosh.
Well, she pulled it out with a pair of tweezers. It was kind of weird looking like a little arrow.
Yeah.
But it was
about,
right. I'd say a little over an eighth of an inch long. I wouldn't say it was a quarter inch long, but it was back there for 50-some years.
Wow.
Sometimes people have
seen
seen
from 1967 until 2 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
How
do you feel now?
Well, I feel okay, but I know that it was back there, so that thought's still in my mind, but I know it's not back there.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel any negative effects?
I don't know how it got in because I was only maybe 300 foot away from this object. I seen it come in, I seen it land, I seen it leave. I didn't see nobody except military personnel and stuff like that, and they didn't win that thing. It was a very small opening to get into it.
Obviously they wanted something from you.
Right.
Obviously there's some reason that they came to you. You must have some, there must be some marker in your DNA or some reason that because they don't, I know that they do everything for a reason. They're just not out there. It's not random. They're making very specific choices in who they contact and how and why and when.
That's interesting.
How much.
Well, they haven't contacted me. I live in Florida. They haven't contacted me, but believe me, I had it in me. Larry got pictures of it.
Got pictures. I have to bring it up here, but I haven't got it on my list here because I have a photograph. But I saw it. Unbelievable. What do you do? Do these ever come out by themselves? These probes, or they just attach themselves inside your system, or what have you?
I don't know. I've never heard of any coming out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But it's highly possible.
Right.
I'm sure.
Who's removing these now since that doctor's passed away?
I don't know if there's anybody who is taking up the mantle of trying to help people who have implants.
Mm-hmm.
What another thing that I've done, because my wife discovered a number of implants that were in me, and it goes back to that process of personal sovereignty.
Right.
I went internally and I told those implants, look, you're in my body, and I run my body.
Right.
So now you work for me.
Interesting.
You know, I claimed them and changed them
Yeah.
to be for my benefit, not for some outside agency's benefit.
Right.
And since then, I haven't had any problems.
Your conscience you're in control, and the device
Well,
now knows, got the signal. I'm going to thank our friend out of Florida for calling. We appreciate you so much, and do call back again, my friend, and say hello to your wife for me, would you?
Well, I appreciate you, Larry, and I just wanted to ask him that question. You'll have to maybe show him off here what that thing was.
I will. I'll actually.
yeah, I'll take a look.
I'll show it to him.
Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. Ken, thank you so much.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
You too, Larry.
All right.
Bye.
Faithful listener, I love the show, and he's been through a lot. He's seen UFO. He's seen it land. He's. I mean, we have a whole show on him. It's unbelievable. And this whole pro thing, I mean, the implant. I got a real good picture of it. I don't have it on my list for the show tonight, but I will have it for you. I'll send it to you.
Great.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. We're going to go to commercial, and we'll be back, everybody.
Okay.
Right after this. And again, stand by.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
Violence, theft, drugs, graffiti. It's all part of joining a gang. In times like these, we need to protect our children and our community from gangs. Gangs often prey on unsupervised teens with low self-esteem, who perform poorly in school, who seek a sense of belonging, or are simply bored. Joining a gang often involves violent hazing rituals. Once in a gang, members can become alienated from their families, school, and friends. Drugs, guns, and malicious activity are common elements in gangs. Trying to leave a gang can be a difficult and dangerous process. The best way to get out of a gang is never to join one. Protect kids from being recruited by a gang. Know who they're hanging out with. Involve kids in after-school activities and provide positive role models. Help reduce gang activities in your community by working with local law enforcement and school systems. Don't let a kid you know get involved with gangs. Visit ncpc.org to learn more or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council,
and the
Ad Council.
signs, so you enable.
You don't want to sound like a hypocrite, so you enable.
You don't want to alienate your child, so you enable.
But if you think they're trying drugs, you shouldn't be afraid.
You are the parent.
So you are able.
You are strong.
So you are able. There are others just like you.
So you are able.
And we can help. So you are able.
Get help at drugfree.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America.
To talk with Glenn Larry, deep in the desert of Nevada. Lines are open at 1-702-874-1114. That's 702-874-1114. Now, here again, Glenn Larry.
And I am back, everybody. We have our guest on the line. Matthew, implants we were just talking about. How do you know if you have one? This is the questions come up. How do you know if you...
That's a really good question. You'll feel, at least as far as my experience, I could feel certain things happening. For instance, when I got the one that we talked about last week in my head, when I started questioning, well, what is this? I got a voice in my head that wasn't mine telling me, hey, this is a bio-audio monitoring device. Don't worry about it and don't touch it. Some years later, I was in Santa Monica. I was having lunch with a friend, and I was talking about this very implant. And at the table, I suddenly got a pain from the middle of my brain that was so powerful, I almost doubled up at the table.
Wow.
And it was like a message, look, stop talking about this to people. And I haven't never had that sensation ever again. So these implants that they're using, they can activate them to do all kinds of things. And whether these are implants from the Greys or these are implants from the secretive military groups that are associated with these people or these beings, I don't know. I know when I got this one that there were two guys present in my room who had dressed in khakis and had purple berets and purple ascots on.
Interesting.
And so, these could be of our manufacturer. I don't know. It's possible because given what I perceive as our government's cooperation or in cooperation with these entities, I don't put anything past them.
Interesting. How many would you say right now in America or around the country? Let's just use America that you think have these implants.
Well,
what do you think the number could be?
The estimate that of contact is 10% is up to 10% of the population. So that's a staggering 30 million people in this country. Even if only 10% of those people have implants, that's 3 million. That's a lot of people. And when you talk about a worldwide program, there must be tens of millions of people who have implants of various different kinds that are being used for whatever purposes. My question has always been, okay, there's data being collected. Who's collecting it, and where's it going?
Right.
What are they using it for?
Right.
Seriously. And I don't have an answer for that.
No. Interesting.
I'd like one.
Yeah.
I really would. But to date, I don't have answers.
Right. Now,
dealing with these beings, it's like peeling an onion. The more layers you peel off, you keep going, and then you get to the end, and it's empty.
Right.
And there's layer upon layer upon layer. That's why, a lot of people have bits and pieces of memory because there's memory blocks, and over time they break down, and the picture becomes clearer. But until that happens, you just have this morass of all this weird stuff that you remember or that triggers you. Right. I'll give you a case in point. About 2 weeks ago, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I heard this particular kind of metallic sound, like gears being moved.
Mm-hmm.
And it instantly triggered a memory about being around the others. So it can be a sound, it can be a smell, it can be a deja vu that just suddenly breaks down the barrier that was put in the block, and there's a memory.
Wow.
It's a really disconcerting process, I'll tell you. And it can be very confusing. It can be disturbing. People can think they're going crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
I tell people in my book about reading this book, go slow. If you start to feel triggered, go slow. because um, when those memory blocks begin to break down, what you experienced comes up, and it can be very disturbing. It's not all unicorns and rainbows, I'll tell you.
Right, right. God, the Three Georges. That's interesting. Um,
Yeah,
you've got to get
that's
this
the
book,
best part.
folks. Yeah. And the name of the book altogether is called
Hallucinations don't leave scars.
Yeah. And when do you think it will be out for folks to get?
Well, they can get it now from me digitally if they email me.
Right. Let's get that
Um,
email address out. Go ahead.
the email address is 20, that's 20, Medina, MEDINA, MD, at gmail.com.
Okay, one more time, slowly for these folks. Go ahead.
20, MEDINA, MD, at gmail.com.
Great.
And in print form, I'm talking to some different publishers, and of course, these things take money to get together. So
Yes.
I started a GoFundMe site.
Let's get that out.
They can go to GoFundMe and support Matthew's ET Contact book project, and they can donate to that. Anybody who donates to me on GoFundMe, they'll get when it is published, I will send them a personally signed copy, and thanks directly.
Right. Well, that's great. What is the most, may I say, hardest experience that you had that you accept and thought
Well,
about?
yeah, I've thought about that. So when I was 9 years old, and this is a few months after I had that experience of the old sister with her hand on my shoulder and all that. So I was about 9 years old. I lived about 9 blocks from elementary school, and I used to walk home with one of my pals, and we would fool around on the way home. So it'd take me, about a half hour to walk home. So as I'm coming up to my house, this little girl shows up, and she's barefoot, and she's dressed in a striped cotton sundress. This is in the spring. This is in Maryland.
Right.
And I'm looking at her, and she's like, she knows me.
Wow.
And she's there to play for a while. And she looked familiar, but I just couldn't place it, and there was something odd about the whole thing. So I thought, okay, well, here we go. Something weird is about to happen. So she comes into the house, and she runs around like she owns the place. And I'm sort of like, oh, what is this? And she wants to go outside and play. And I'm like, okay, let's just go outside. So go outside, and she asked me, she says, you want to play a game? I said, sure. So she says, okay. So we lay down on the ground, with our stomachs to the ground. And she says, okay, take off your shoes and socks, and put your feet straight up to the sky. I said, okay. And then she says, now send a wire from your belly button down into the earth, down and down and down until you feel a current, you feel a connection.
Wow.
So I tried that. I did it. I could feel a cord of energy. So she says, okay, now bring energy up that cord and bring it up through your spine and kick your head back and send that to the bottoms of your feet. I did that, and I could feel it. I could feel the bottoms of my feet tingling. It was kind of pleasant. She says, okay, now try it the other way. Now bring it up through your feet and kick it and put it over to the top of your head. So I did that. And I thought, well, that is just really weird. I said, where did you learn this game? She looked at me straight in the face. She said, I learned it from the others, and you were there, and it happens a couple of years from now.
Wow.
I was just like, what? You know?
Right.
And this girl was about the same age that I am.
Right.
I was. So, all right. So then we get up, we go into the house, and she goes into the kitchen and gets a piece of cake from the night before and a glass of milk. And my older brother is there, and he makes some comment about my girlfriend, and she kind of makes a little mess, you know, doing this. And then I'm like, now, and I asked her, I said, so, where do you live? And she says, I live in Yakima. And I said, Yakima? She said, yeah, Yakima. I said, okay, well, I think you should leave. She says, yeah, I'm going to go now. So she gets up, she goes outside. I follow her outside, down the steps, on my front steps, and I watch her walk down about 50 paces. She turns around, she waves at me, and just winks out of existence. And I thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now, so I go back inside the house and I look at the clock. It's 4:00, or no, it's like 4:15, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. We got off at 3:00. I got home at 3:30. This girl showed up. We've been outside for hours. How could it be 4:15? So I clean up the mess, and I go to find my older brother who wears a watch. I could never wear watches as a kid because they would always stop. My parents would buy me a watch, and then a week later it stops and won't work anymore, which is another oddity.
Yeah.
So I go find my brother. It's 4:30. I'm like, this cannot be. I don't understand what's going on here. So my mom comes home. She had been at the neighbors or something having coffee. She comes home, and my brother tells her about, you know, my girlfriend, this girl that followed me home and was in the house and ate cake and all that. And my mom, she's kind of nonplussed, and she says, well, where's this girl from? Where does she live? I said, Yakima. She says, no, Yakima. This girl told me she lives in Yakima, Washington. Well, I thought it was Washington, D.C., right?
Washington State.
I'm 9 years old. I don't know, where Yakima is.
Right.
And my mom says, no, I mean the street around here. Where does she live? I said, I don't know. And we left it at that. And I never saw that girl again.
Wow.
Fast forward, I'm in my 20s.
Okay.
I'm in Seattle, and I'm working with this people who have it's a spiritual group, and they have a restaurant and all that, and I'm working there. And this woman comes in, and she's the fiance of one of the guys there, and they're going to go to Rome to start an ashram and teach yoga and all that. Well, there's this energy between me and this woman, but I'm like, hey, this is, you know, my friend's fiance. I'm not going to pursue anything here, you know.
Right.
So then about a year after that, I was working at another place, and I see this woman walking towards my workplace, and it's this same woman, and she's like gotten even more beautiful in a year or so, you know. So I met her at the door, and we instantly recognized each other. And she told me that she was getting a divorce. She wasn't a part of that group anymore and all that. And we started hanging out together. And eventually she moved in with me, and we had, you know, this great relationship for a number of years.
Right.
She moved to Santa Barbara with me when I went to Brooks, and then we kind of split up, and we came back together 10 years after that when I was in my 30s or late 30s and early 40s in Phoenix. So one day in Phoenix, I'm looking through some old photographs of her. She had this box of photographs. So I'm looking through these, you know, photographs of her when she's a kid and everything.
Right.
I come across one of her as a 9-year-old wearing a yellow striped cotton sundress.
Oh, my goodness.
This is the girl.
Wow.
And I asked her, I said, what is this? And she says, oh, that's a picture my dad took of me when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
Well, this woman in reality is like 4 or 5 years younger than I am. So I'm like, wait a minute. How in the hell could this be the same girl who was the same age I was in Maryland, but is 5 years younger? And this is, I mean, I looked at this photograph for an hour thinking, this can't be her. But it was her. And so what that told me, it absolutely reinforced the fact that these beings, they can reach you anytime, anywhere, day or night, any year. They can completely turn time upside down.
Yeah.
Because what did they do? They took this girl out of time. They brought her thousands of miles to my house in Maryland, had suspended the time we spent together. You know, my experience was we spent hours together, but in normal reality, it was only like a half hour. And then the odds of meeting someone on the other side of the planet, other side of the country, 20 years later.
Yes.
I mean, what the odds of that are astronomical.
Yeah.
And
unbelievable.
This woman knew she knew about the others. They appeared in her artwork. We had many experiences together where we would dream together. Like I would wake up and say, "Oh, I saw you," and she said, "Yeah, and you were doing this in that dream."
Right.
So we would dream together, and there were many times where we would be compelled to go to bed at like 7:30, and we would hear a knock. The series of knocks would end up on the outside, like somebody knocking on the wall in a series of threes.
Yeah, it's the
three
Trinity.
threes.
Trinity.
And she had dimmer switches in the house, and we would watch the dimmer go up and down, making the lights go on and off. We would just watch that dimmer move up and move down.
Yeah, I have that effect in the studio once in a while.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, you can't. I couldn't have made this up if I wanted to.
No.
And the fact that there was a photograph to prove that this was the girl. Oh, I asked her. I said,
yeah.
So why are you? What is this? Your dress and everything? She said, "Oh, that was my favorite sundress. I wore it all the time."
Did you ask her about? Do you remember me? Anything like that?
I did, and this woman had very luminous eyes, and she kind of was silent a little bit, and she said that she had known me for many lifetimes.
Wow.
And there's a whole nother story about all that. It also includes my current wife right now. That dates back, and then that's more. That's like 5 other shows.
Yes.
But this, in this instance, how they manipulate reality. This is a perfect example of how they can do all kinds of things, and that they have a long game.
Yeah.
You know.
Boy, they've got it. They've got a long game. They've got they've got an agenda, and they're using it.
Well, they're billions of years old, so
Yeah.
Our little 100-year lifetime is nothing. It's not even a blink in the eye to them. You know what I mean?
May I ask, where is the lady today?
She is in Vancouver. She is a visual artist. She's a photographer and visual artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Gosh, I can't wait to get the book. I mean, I got some of it here, but I can't wait to get the other stuff. So, is this the only person you've met in this frame of mind when this all happened? Is this the only person you've met during this type of situation?
No. In fact, I went to a UFO conference in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
This was back in the 90s or late 80s. And this is a whole weekend thing where they have different presenters and all that, and you're in an auditorium. So I'm sitting in this auditorium in this row, and there's the whole place is full, and there were about 6 or 8 people who came. Some of them were sitting in my row, and other people came up to me in the in between times, and when we kind of got through with the day, and they came up and they said, "Excuse me, I know you," and these are people I had never consciously seen before, and we decided, about 6 or 8 of us, we decided we would all go out to dinner together. During the course of that dinner, we're all looking at each other, and we're realizing we actually do know each other. We actually have met.
Wow.
And it's strange, but everywhere I've ever gone, and I've lived all over the country, and I've worked all over the world. Everywhere I go, people claim that they have met me and they know me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the story is about that. I don't think I look. You have my picture there. I don't look uniquely. I'm not a movie star or something. I mean, but people claim they've met me. They've known me. I've actually had people even call me by another name.
Yes.
And I go, "Sir, that's not my name." And they go, "Yeah, are you sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure."
Yeah. Everybody has a double, I know that for sure.
If I have a double, that double's been around.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. And I had a friend of mine that was on a fishing boat. These folks rented this boat out, and he swore to God this guy looked just like me, and even called him by my name. And it was just so identical. And he says, "Man," and then the guy had a heart attack on the boat, and he's going, "My God, don't die, Larry." It was just unbelievable. But he said it was so close. I mean, I really believe that they're out there. Everybody has a double, and it's interesting. But you have a unique face. I mean, so they'd have to pick you out. I really do know you, so I get it. Now, the picture I have up here right now, you have an elephant next to you.
Yeah, I was in Bali.
Yeah.
I've been to Bali a few times. I've traveled a fair amount, and I love Asia. And I was in Bali, and we went to kind of hang out with the elephants.
Wow.
And we were hanging out with the elephants, and this one elephant just decided he put his trunk around my neck, and somebody snapped that picture.
Beautiful.
Being in the presence of the elephants.
Boy, I love them.
It's not dissimilar than being in the presence of some of the grays, because the elephants have this incredible intelligence. When you're eye to eye with them, there is just something going on behind those eyes. You can feel it.
Wow. Yeah, I know.
And this elephant could have just snapped my neck.
Oh yeah.
With a twist.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he was so gentle and so soft and so considerate.
Nice,
I mean,
nice.
you can see my expression. I kind of melted into that.
Yeah. Well, I would too.
That elephant. Yeah,
Gosh.
they're beautiful beings.
Yeah, they are. My goodness.
Definitely are.
How many elephants were you around at the time?
Oh, I think there are probably maybe 8 or 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've heard of them going on rampages. I mean, really getting mad.
Yeah, those are mostly the Africans. These were Asian elephants.
Okay, it's interesting. Yeah. Boy, it's unbelievable. Gosh. Well, again, I want to thank you for a great show, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate coming on, and
I'm going to have you back again.
All right.
I'd like to also talk with your wife. And
you would. Diana is an extremely interesting person. She is highly clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient.
Mm-hmm.
She talks to people from the other side. She's away right now on a 10-day writing retreat
Right.
because she has a lot to say too.
Uh-huh.
And she is the leader of our geobiology group.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, you would enjoy talking to her.
How many are in your group right now? Do you have?
In our geobiology group, there are about 8 to 10 people.
Okay.
And when we clear property, it depends on the property. You know, we don't work with less than 6 people, but the more the merrier.
And explain that to the folks, because there's that one person that, what is this all about? So go ahead.
Well, geobiology is the science of discovering geological disturbance
Right.
on
Right.
property, and then coming up with processes that mitigate or nullify
Mm-hmm.
the problem. And that can come from electrical interference. It can come from underground water. It can come from underground ore.
Mm-hmm.
It can come from directional thought forms that are interference. We're bathed in a what they call frequency fog. You know, we're bathed in EMF and
Yes.
RF and Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
We're being inundated with frequency that 100 years ago it didn't exist.
There's so much happening out there you can't see, and it's just
That is exactly right.
unbelievable.
And so what we do is we dowse first
Mm-hmm.
to come up with what the problem is.
Right.
And then we have a process that we use to lay down amendments and different substances where we find interference, and we can also use copper rods to block interference.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lengthy process to clear a property. One property that Diana did in Florida, which was Mineral Springs, it was about 90 acres or so, and she had a staff of 22 people, and it took them a couple of weeks to do it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the days that they were working, and they found disturbance, and they were doing the mitigating. The next day, like hundreds of thousands of termites came up out of the ground and flew away.
Wow.
She also said that during that process, when they were clearing, they were by a stream, and there were gators in there, and the gators were hunting them. And at one point, everything just stopped, and she saw a reptilian general in the forest, and he had told the gators to stop. That they were what she was doing was to help them.
Yeah.
And this reptilian general told her, he said, "We're not all bad."
Interesting.
So she's had her own ET experiences
Right.
and many other experiences too. She's just one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life, to be honest.
That's what our show is all about, is to talk about this stuff that, knowing that your wife has been there too. I'd like to have her on, which we will. And
I'll let her know that.
The opportunity is unbelievable here, what we're experiencing. And
it is.
I think it's fantastic. And that's why K-Ghost Radio, UFO Talk Radio, from the ghost spirits to UFOs, we do it all, folks. And we have a lot of fun with it. It's a great show. It's a fun show. And a lot of information. And we're kicked back. We're not the type that's going to be pushing something down your throat or sell you something. But I'm going to ask you one more time, give them information, how to get a hold of you for your book. Go ahead.
People can email me at 20 Medina, MEDINA, MD, @gmail.com. and I can send them a copy of my book, or if they just want to send me an email and correspond, or talk about their experiences.
Yes.
Believe me, I know how difficult it is to actually come forward and talk about it. It's taken me decades to get to this point to be able to actually talk publicly about what I experienced. So,
right.
Believe me, if you're out there and you have been having contact experiences, I understand, and I know what you're going through.
Well, that's wonderful. That's really kind of you. Oh, wonderful. Again, my friend, thank you so very much. We have
You're welcome.
reached that hour. And again,
thanks for having me on.
Yes, we'll have you back. I'll be talking to you. I got some stuff to send you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Play well, be well, and watch the skies. Yeah, they're there. They're making themselves much more known that they're there. They're listening to K-Ghost Radio, UFO Talk Radio.